like to call our special meeting to order at this time on tax matters. And at this time, I'd like to ask Brother Arthur Bullock if he would to give our invocation, and Mr. Martin to lead us in our pledge.
Let us stand. Oh Lord, our God, our wonderful God, we thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity you give us to be a part of this day. Father, we invite you to come in, be with us, bless the commissioners, bless all under the sound of my voice. Give us the right reason and the right word to handle this business, Father. Thank you for all the blessings you already bestowed upon us. We thank you for safe travel here. Father, continue to be with us, bless this board and all that we do. All these blessings we ask in thy name, for Christ's sake, amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming, and we'll get down to the matter of business on hand. Ms. Renee Davis, I'd like to come forward, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
At this time, we have Mr. Edward Lawrence. He wanted to to go over some things with issues on a piece of property that he owns now. So, Mr. Edward,
Sure. What I'd like to ask is to reconsider the tax value of the property. When I purchased it last July, it had been for sale for over a year, and Ms. Dixon's been unable to sell it. It is a lakefront place, and it has a old house. It's been unpowered for 4 years, and it'll either be removed or torn down. But with that said, the price I paid for the property, $325,002, was all it would bring at that time. In fact, another gentleman had made a bid on the property at the time, and I raised it up $10,000 over him. So that's all the property would bring after it's set for 2 years, and that's not a short sale, not a foreclosure, a regular real estate sale. So I thought that set the value of the property at that level, and that's my question for you today.
What's your question?
Well, can I get the tax value at the price that I paid for the property? Excuse me.
I would say, sir, at this time, we would like to take this in consideration, the board, and let us think about it. And that would be what I would suggest to the board, and look at it further, and look at the market right now. And of course, we have guidelines and laws we have to go by, and look at and consider. And we can be talking to Ms. Davis about it, and then the board will get back to us.
I appreciate anything you do.
Mr. Lawrence, when you buy and purchase, don't set the tax value on property, though.
I understand that. I understand that it's, there are tax tables and things like that. And over time, they'll hit market value. And market value may move away from them. But in this case, it's over $100,000 off, which is a significant amount of tax.
Oh, yeah.
And when I improve the property, I know the tax value will go up, and I'll pay that at that time. I understand once I start improving that property, which will be, I'll tell you, my wife and I are looking at that for a retirement property. And once that house is over there, off of there, we'll have to fill the lot. It needs filling. The pier's got to be replaced. There's nothing in good shape on it. It's not usable right now. So then once it's filled in a couple of years, when we have our finances right, we'll start building our retirement home, and that's my wife's goal to retire there. So, we found a good value in a piece of property, but we did not buy it on a short sale or foreclosure or anything like that. And I understand exactly what you told me about how you set values. I'd actually discussed it with the appraiser, and when he called me earlier this year, I asked to have a chance to discuss. And the reason I'm here today is because the letter actually went to that piece of property, which has no mailbox, so I didn't get notification to appeal it. And then when I called Renee, she set me up to talk with you guys about it and see what we do.
Right.
The property, are you gonna, you say you're gonna do demolition on the building that's there now, you're gonna remove it?
Howell Clark is interested in taking the house and moving it away, and he's planning on doing that this fall. Then I'll leave the lot empty until I can afford to build a house on it. And also you need to leave it empty for about 6 months or more when you, take the cypress stumps out and it's, sort of like peat moss up around the front. You gotta get buildable. The lots are really not buildable right now.
The unfortunate side of some of that is, I know the last lot or two that sold in Turtle Cove, that was just 50 feet, and the stumps on them brought over 500,000 just for the lot.
Yes, sir, and I follow the property values. When I was a young boy, I drove tour boats around White Lake, so I've been familiar with it all my life, and, sometimes it brings a whole lot, sometimes it doesn't. But anyway, I'm asking you today, that's what I paid for the property, and that's all it brings after sitting empty for 2 years. So that's a pretty good, I think, estimate of what it's actually worth.
Ms. Davis, to ask you a question, is
Yes.
this property consistent with the value of adjoining properties that surround it? Is it in the same, like you do
Yeah,
in blocks?
the
Consistent?
problem with the value that we're looking at, the improvement is not the 17,000, if you look at that, is the land is, and that's why if you'll look at the property record card that's in your packet, you'll see there's some improvements, there's miscellaneous, like the pier, the boathouse, and then the improvement on the house, which is 17. The appraiser, it was at 453, he appealed earlier this year, and before we bring it before the board, the appraiser always goes out, sees if there's anything he can do, and he adjusted, but he really can't do anything with the land unless he sees anything going on that is different with the rest of it. And so he only adjusted the improvement. And because the land, it is what it is at the time of reevaluation. And so he adjusted the improvement from 453, the total value from 453, 170 to 428, 120. We sent the letter, and like he said, it went to the address we had that the lawyer gave us when the deed came through, and that was the actual physical address.
What's SFR?
SSR,
SFR.
single family residence.
Is the house livable?
Not now, no.
Okay.
Is it on the waterfront, well, is it the?
Yes, sir, it's a waterfront lot. And the other thing that, now these are from online values that I don't have the official record, so, but the next 3 properties next to it, which have houses which are probably around 200,000 for the house if it was sitting somewhere else. And they're livable houses, and they're 496, 474, and 467. So they're in line with my piece of property, but there's a house on them that's livable and usable, and mine is not.
Okay.
So that's why I'm asking you to look at it a little closer.
Okay.
Give me those prices again.
The 3 adjoining pieces of property, one's 467, one's 474, and one's 496.
Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, and you're gonna sell the house, that's on there now and have it removed, is that what you're saying?
Well, if Mr. Clark does move it, he has interest in moving it and said he will. And if he moves it, then we'll move it off. If not, I will have it torn down, because it's not livable. You know, it's either you'd have to take that out to make it usable. You'd have to go under and jack it up, fix all of the land problems up under it, do a new foundation, and then, there is some good wood in it, actually. So if, I don't know if I can do something with that, but, it's 1,000 square foot old, lakefront cottage. Basic thing built in 1941. And, like I said, the power and water have been off it for 4 years. So I don't see it, in my mind, it's not restorable.
You just gonna basically what I'm asking for, you're just not gonna look for any income, you're just gonna give it away?
No, I'm gonna give it away, yes, sir. I'm gonna give the house away. I'm gonna give it to whoever moved it. Mr. Clark has volunteered to do that.
Okay, that's all.
That's correct. Any other questions for me?
We'll be back in touch with you, sir. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you taking time to listen to my cases this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay, take care.
for,
I'm the administrator of the
Okay.
estate.
over the estate. Oh.
Good afternoon, and thank you for seeing me. I'm a little nervous. Somebody told me I was up to age, so.
You can go ahead, just tell them.
Okay. I'm the administrator of my aunt's estate. She passed away November the 29th of last year. She has 2.2 acres of land at White Lake. It's on East 3rd Avenue. There is no road frontage, and to get to it, you have to go up a little dirt street with mobile homes on each side. I need to sell this land and let that money go back into the estate, but the tax value is so high on it. I'm not gonna be able to sell it. I haven't had anybody, In 2014, the tax value on the parcel that I'm really talking about was $44,300. And the tax value on it now is $123,400, and that would be on the half acre. And the total taxes on the four parcels of land is $230,660, and there's nothing on it. There's no building. There's a few scrub trees. We've tried to keep it bush hog, keep it in condition to sell, but there's nothing on the land. So, what I really need to do is, get it to a value where I feel like, I can sell it. And I've already paid the taxes on it for this year because trying to save that $10 or $15 that you get for paying early, so anyhow, that's what I need. I know, Renee, you said you were going to look at it.
Yeah, and we actually, who came,
Jane Priest, she's the realtor.
she actually came to me and we were going over the property record cards. And when we were looking, there was a mobile home park, and as you see, a mobile home park, depending on how many, mobile home hookups you have, like this one was $100,000. And so when we were looking, she said there was no manufactured home park here. And we got to looking, and it's like they tried to start one, and there's even a survey map and different things. I've talked to Greg Elkins, and I've also talked to, and he don't have anything back then, but he also is in the ETJ of White Lake. So they also said there's never been a mobile home park here. So I have corrected it for 2019. Now, and so these are, I don't know if that was talking to you or Miss Jane, but these are the values now is the $23,400 on one, $19,500 on one, and $16,000. There was one parcel that there was no adjustment because there was no mobile home park. And she was gonna give you all that information.
I have it, and I was just gonna call you when you were out of town, so
Okay. So these are the values as of coming up to 2019. And Ms. Jane was going to talk with you about maybe the refunds or something, but that's the reason why that she would have to come here. And, in your letter,
Yeah, I wrote a letter to Mr. Britt earlier, I think it was in October, and he was kind enough to send it on to your office, I think.
okay.
And
So we have adjusted it for the upcoming year of 2019. And so far, as I go back, I'm not sure, unless they started it and somehow we got the mobile home park from a building permit or something, we're not seeing that there was ever a mobile home park there. So I've corrected it.
So, if it was no, let me go back to one for 123,000. If it was not a mobile home park there, is it any method that you could go back and?
And that would be up to y'all, 5 years plus grant.
And she said she already paid taxes.
For this year, I paid the taxes out of the estate account. The increases came in 2015. My aunt was 90 years old in 2015. So, you know, I came to her to the tax office not several times, a couple of times. And, you know, she was trying to find out why the increase was, you know, so much from 2014 to 2015. But as time went on, and, you know, we didn't ever get any answers. So, and she was suffering from some dementia then, a very godly, hardworking woman. So, you know, I just want to do what's fair for her estate. That's all I'm asking.
Renee, I'm looking at, you talking about virtually $150,000 on the top two costs that's been adjusted. So she's been paying that rate,
For 4 years.
$150,000 in cents for the last 4 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, from since 15, that was the rate then. Now, in 14, it would have been a little bit different because that was when the rates all changed from revaluation. So for 4 years, 15, 16, 17, and 18, she's paid those amounts on that value.
Okay.
Okay?
Who made the error on this? Our adjuster, appraiser, when they did the revaluation process, who made the error?
As far as I can go back, I see it's been a mobile home park.
I think say filing for a mobile home park is probably it.
Yeah, and like I said, when you go back to the, Greg Elkins being the county in the zoning, but it wasn't always that. You know, we didn't have that, I mean, as far as I can go, I can see it. But then, and Miss Jane gave me a survey, it was years and years ago, 70s or 80s,
I think if
it was
anything
way
was on there,
back.
it would have been in the early 70s.
And I can't
And I
tell
know
you
you
how,
have.
you know, that's before the county actually had anything like that, and then now it's in the ETJ, and I just started looking, when Miss Jane was in front of me, I actually called the town of White Lake right then and to see, and there's nothing there.
The question I'm asking is, excuse me,
Go
the
ahead.
question I was asking is, with the $150,000 adjustment, on that error, what documentation or proof do you have that we can say was legitimate to cause this to go this direction? That's what I'm asking. What do you base it on? What was that based on?
It's based on
It was
an application was at some point in time for a mobile home park.
I'm saying, but do we have that documentation that that's what was requested to be, a mobile home? Do we have anything to say that?
There was never a mobile home park set there.
So you don't have any justification for a mobile home park being there?
Yeah, when I told the town of White Lake and the county, and there was no permits, anything that, there's a well and septic tanks down there.
So it should have been.
But the maps and all was done for it to be one.
They were never,
Never recorded?
yeah, it was like they started it, but then they didn't go forward with it.
Well,
They were,
you
yeah.
know, I know Ms. Wright don't want to hear this, but it's responsibility of the
That's
taxpayer.
correct. That's what I was going to say
I'm
next.
sorry,
It's
I didn't say
always
that.
January 1st is
That's,
your, yeah.
that's a fact.
Well, that's one reason I just said, you know, that when this happened, she was 90, she turned 90 years old, and she was a widow, she had no children. So until I came on the scene as her administrator, she had nobody to stand up for her, you know.
So there's 6 tax cards? And you
Should
adjusted
be.
3 of them?
There's one. No, your tax cards will show 2018 and 2019, if you'll see at the very top where I've highlighted. And I've only adjusted 3. So all that you have that was a problem were those 3. The rest of them are all about the same, value, because they didn't have, what made it so high is the mobile home park.
But can I ask a question though? Did you say that you came in 2015?
Pardon me?
Did you came in
Yes,
2015?
I brought her up here to talk to who she talked to. I don't even know who she talked to at that time, you know.
And no records of
And
that?
every year when I would, you know, I would write her a check for her taxes, and she would say, I just don't know why they're so high. And she couldn't get anything done about it, so I don't really know. Like I said, she died in 2017, and she was suffering from dementia, you know, so you know.
So if you came to the tax office, why didn't they forward you on to the commissioners?
The way I got in with the commissioner was I wrote a letter directly to Mr. Ray,
Yeah, but I
and
mean,
he,
when you go to the tax office and you wanna appeal it, it's supposed to come to commissioners then.
Yeah,
She's talking about in 15.
yeah. I'm not sure what actual procedure you went.
well, I'm kind of lost in the procedure because I'm way out of my comfort zone in this, and, and, I just, just whatever you can do, if you can do anything to help Anna Elizabeth's estate to, to be like it ought to be, because, I mean, a half acre of land that's valued at $123,400 is a lot.
Now, you already adjusted these for future years and everything.
Yes, sir.
I think, of course, we take everything into consideration, and I'm just speaking like everybody else is speaking right now. And I like to learn this the hard way, and it would have costed my wallet and the rest of them if they'd agreed with me. I think in this case, my recommendation would be, under the circumstances, would allow us to refund back what the law will allow, but we can't go back so far, based on the situation from what I'm firsthand hearing right now.
I think we handle it just like we did first when we talk about it.
That's right, but we're all talking out loud now, so I'm
Right.
speaking what my personal opinion is.
Well, anything that you can do, when I became administrator for her estate, I had to take an oath that said that I would do the best I could for her estate and for her hard work through the years, and that's the reason I'm here. I mean,
Ms. Ryder, are you satisfied with the new adjustments or not?
well, I haven't even seen them till right now, but, I think the property would sell with, somebody told me that it had been rezoned for, maybe it was Jane that said it had been rezoned for like a single family home or a duplex or something like that, so somebody might be interested in buying it at that rate. I mean, that's a lot better than what it was. The main thing with this property is, there's no access to it hardly. It has to go through this little tiny narrow road to get to it, and it's all washed out, it's a dirt road, and, anyhow, but yeah, that looks a lot better than it did.
Which side of the road is it on?
It's at the end of that street. You
No,
go
I mean,
to-
if you come in by the Wamsquam, is that where it's at?
If you come in by the new medical center,
Yeah.
you go straight down to East Oak, take a right, and it's at the end of East Oak Street. It just opens up into this big field.
So it's toward the lake.
Yeah, it's right.
Is it across the street where the new medical center is? Is it on that side where the car wash is? And the new medical center, or is it across the street where the lake is?
You turn right beside the medical center.
So you make
To the
that
left.
left.
Left,
To the
uh-huh.
left.
Okay, so
And
it's not waterside. It's not
I understand
waterside.
what you're talking
Okay.
about.
I think
I know
Mr.
exactly where you're
Yeah,
at.
I think Mr. Hobby Green owns the land on one side of it that goes to the road, to the lake road,
So this happened during the reevaluation process. I want to make sure that's when this happened. When we did the reevaluation assessment, this when this.
This has happened a long time
Yeah,
ago.
this has been on the books for years.
So the 15, that 123.
It just so happened it went up in 15, and I guess she,
How much
Ms.
did it-
Simpson
That's what I'm
was,
asking, how much did it go up during that reevaluation process? What did it
I
go
don't
up?
have the 2014
They got it.
values. The 14,
those are the four partials, and that's 2014.
yeah, like on that first one, the parcel 12025. No, that's
That's the
that
property value.
44,300, and it went to 123,400.
So it went up $80,000. That's what I'm saying, that's been booming out of the way.
Well, that's when property was
Like,
$1 million a foot, White Lake almost.
like when I said that man's property, a 50-foot unstumped lot went for $552,000.
Well, I appreciate you doing what you're doing for her estate.
Well, you put your head on that Bible, you gotta do what you're supposed to do, so,
Yeah.
I And like I said, I'm out of my comfort zone, and I appreciate y'all listening to me.
Well, you doing well, Bree, you did good.
Well, thank you so much,
Yeah,
and
you're quite well.
whatever, whatever you come up with, will be appreciated.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's right.
Thank you.
I know I'm trying to recall back during our reevaluation, whole reevaluation,
Yes.
did the tax assessment value in the county overall go down or go up? Which way did it go down?
Overall,
went down.
Our
It
tax
went
value,
down.
did it go down?
down.
They go down White Lake.
But White Lake stayed, that
Lake
property.
Tree Lakes, they can go down a whole lot.
None of mine went down.
I'm just asking, I know we walked
Overall,
by
it went
during
down.
that time. And I didn't know whether they were trying to make a difference over there upon people raising $80,000 and going at that highway property. It went down, I know it went down.
It just varied by neighborhood.
For a reason, it's like a whole lot. $80,000.
Yeah, it does.
Other tax revenue.
That's it.
I'm motion to adjourn.
Got a motion
When
by
are we gonna talk about it?
You wanna do it now?
I just asked one.
I can say, if you feel comfortable, let's go ahead and talk about it now.
Then,
Well, we
you
got-
send your,
I have no problem, but and I'm going to start it on that first one. If that house is as bad as it says it is, if you take the house and the porch off, you're right where he wants to be.
It
So
was.
someone needs to go out there and look at it again. So we got the house and the porch valued at $101,000. Go out and look at it.
that high, yeah.
That's what
You got the house and the porch at $101,000. And if it's not livable, take that off, you're out where he wants to be.
That's what I was thinking, you're gonna get rid of the house.
Non-livable
You're gonna
house.
make it-
Now, your property record card,
Well,
hold on, I just wanna make sure. That property record card, which one are you, you're looking at the,
I'm looking at 2017.
okay, that's the old value, and then, which was 453.
Where's the new one?
And then you should have the 2018, after he appealed, we sent the letter saying that the new value is 428,120. The house itself is only valued at 17,070. The miscellaneous, which is the pier and the boat, is circled a little further down. That is valued at 23,150. The land is 387,904.
So why did the property value drop from 2017?
Because he appealed, went to,
So you took the house off?
the appraiser graded it a little different.
2018, I'm not showing no money on the house. You need to come show me if I'm looking at it wrong. It's got
It's 2017.
wood frame, there's no money there.
This
What does that
is,
mean?
that's just, these are your codes for what's on it, and sometimes it don't give an amount. All of these should add up to here. This is your total of your house. These all, it says wood siding and what's, how it's built and things.
Well, why would it, I don't mean to, I'm just asking, why would you have, that's what I asked you what SFF was, SFR was, why you got it on one tax card, it's not on another tax card?
Well, there might have been something when they, let's turn it back. Sorry.
So it's showing $86,000 then?
Yeah, so that is, yeah, that is just your the square foot, and it's per square foot.
But it's showing, that's
Square
what it's
foot of
You know
showing.
what I'm saying? But then all these other components add together, and this is your amount.
Well, if I'm looking at this card and you tell me that's the house, and I pull over there and it's showing $86,782, then I think that's what I'm being taxed for that house.
Mr. Chairman, or
Yes, sir.
Renee, if you go down to the, it is an 86, and then you do the depreciation times 78%, and that's 60,000, so you back to
you back 60 off of the 86
No
and come up
wonder
with
people's
17.
confused, who knows how to understand this card?
Well, I'm just, I mean, I'm just,
Right, I agree
yeah.
with that.
Yeah,
Well,
all
come
your,
on.
yeah, all your components add up to a figure of a cost if it was newly replaced. Then depending on the age and depending on the, how it's built and the grade of it, then that's where your depreciation comes in, and then you get this figure at the bottom, which is now the 17.
These Essex, no, I'm just, it's not your fault, been there a long time. You just don't, you just look at it differently every time. I look at it every time I see it. But all these acronyms, SF, R, and all this stuff here,
The assessor
who not, but know what, I didn't know that. Who knew that on this board?
But you need to ask the question too, on this
I did, but that's only 'cause I
75,000,
went to real estate school.
No, you didn't know that, Earl.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
the 75,000 here, the 6.2 and 1640.
This is, you'll see sales, because we have to put sales in. This is the book and page, the date it was sold, and if there was a sale back then. So in 2004, they're telling us that they paid stamps enough for that it was $75,000
Now, how many different cases?
for that deed, for that land and house.
In 2004.
Yes.
And they went up from 2004 from 75,000.
That's what they saying they sold it for. That could not be, that may or may not be a good sale.
It went to 3.5 over here.
That was in 2017.
In 2017, it went from 75 to 325.
That's just sales, that's not value.
That's what I'm saying, the sales was 75 and it went to
Yeah.
3.5.
Really?
And we put it up to 387.
This is the total right here. Total value.
So we got it to 453,000.
That was in 17.
Yeah,
And
he
now
was a
we're
class on how to read these things.
I know, we're not gonna,
So now we're back at 4.8.
$80,
I'm just trying to get to understand.
So what RCN mean?
So where we at now?
replacement cost new.
Replacement cost.
So you got $103,000, what does that mean?
If that house was built today,
So where do you
just the
get,
house.
where do you get the tax back? What numbers do you use to get the tax back? Do you use that 103?
And then,
Appreciate
well,
You
and then
depreciate it,
depreciation,
but
that's a
because you
big,
got year, what year it was built, what the effective year is, which means what remodeling had, what does it look like now? And then you have depreciation on the grade, cause it's a D minus.
So
How do we get the
how do you
4.8?
how do you get the tax value on it? Show me that. What do you add?
All this on the right-hand side,
Well, now you got your $86,000 in there.
that's right, and that should be coming up here,
All this comes up to 103.
okay? Then times 75%, which is this D minus, you see a D
Okay.
minus, okay,
Okay.
that's because of this grade.
Okay.
I guess it was 77.
Then there's a depreciation due to the age, and because it's a D, there's depreciation code and our depreciation schedule, and it adds another 78.
Okay.
And when you subtract all of that, then it goes to 17,000.
Okay. And you're saying, I understand what you just told me.
Okay?
So you're telling me that the land value is 411,000? Well, you gotta subtract that from that, don't you?
You got land, miscellaneous, which is your pier, and your boathouse, your house, and then your total is 428.
Okay. So the house and pier is no good, so that's $40,000. Just say. So if the land is landlocked like that, it ain't on the lakeside, why is that land worth $387,000?
No, it's a lot right on Highway 701, right past, down past the marina.
This is not the trailer house, it's on water.
You know, this is his house is on the water.
Forgive me,
The other one was
forgive me.
Yeah.
Every now and then, what is the joint land value? How much is the land value over there based on, if it's on the waterfront, each square footage, all of it occurs same value? Is that what I'm asking? You
Yeah,
had
if
this
you're on
other lot.
waterfront, all the way around the waterfront, it should be the same.
all the land value is based on the same thing, the
Let me
same.
make
Yeah,
a-
that's why you don't usually make adjustments on your land, because it is what it is, and everybody is
Yes,
based, yeah.
If, I don't see how you can touch the land until another evaluation comes. If it does, you don't have a building big enough to put
Yeah.
everybody in.
The land value.
Making an exception, you do it on, like I said.
No, I don't have a problem, I don't have a problem with the land if that's what the neighbor's land is. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, all the way around is
But I
all
do
the
have a
same.
problem if the house and the piers, ain't no, I think that money needs to go to zero if that's the case.
It's not zero though.
It should go to zero.
Well, I don't know how you can put a zero if it's still sitting there.
It's
It may be
worth nothing.
valuable, to him, it may be,
Yeah, if the appraiser, and usually if Gary, when he goes out, if it's something that it is totally, he don't think it's worth anything, he will take it off. It may be still standing and it may be to almost,
You don't even have power, what he said.
then he will actually take it off and he'll put a sound value, or, you know, saying there is a house here, but it is worth zero.
Okay.
So he did go out, but he adjusted it to that 17,000.
Well, if
And
you
that
did-
might be for the supply of wood. The
But
wood cost, if the guy said that, oh, if you were to raise it up, then there was some good wood underneath there, and I know that building costs right now are exceptionally high.
So, Mr. Brown, I make a motion that we go back and visit it, and if it's, don't have power and things like that, I think that it should go to zero.
But, I mean,
And leave the land property as it is.
Can I ask a question on that? I'm hearing them talking about going back to zero, but we were just in here talking about property that was being found that people had located, and they were paying taxes on it, and we trying to figure out how to assess that property. Remember we was talking about that?
yeah.
When you find property that's been sitting there, and we trying to figure out how to collect the taxes on that property, because it's sitting there. So now you get ready to take a piece that you know there and put it to zero.
I'm putting it zero because it's worth nothing.
Well,
But in that case, then all of this sitting in, what do you do?
Everybody else-
Well, I don't know that, it's case by case, Mr. Condell.
I'm saying, I'm saying, even, I'm
Case
saying
by
that's zero,
case.
but I'm saying if another person come up and say they got a piece sitting out in the woods,
And if they ain't got power and stuff on, we need to take the money off of it.
Well, here's the true way to look at it.
I'm trying to figure out how that gonna
No,
work.
it's the true way. If, let's just say, for instance, if we have to, all right, here you go. If we had to foreclose on it, based on what he said, and I can give you names of people that's had to try to get them jacked up, replace all the seals on them and all because of the sinkage and all over the sand at the lake. If we had to take that in as a repo, meaning it's, the county's not yet paid the taxes,
Foreclosure?
it's gonna cost us a bunch of money to have that house torn down and hauled off. So therefore, zero is better than a negative 20 to have to pay somebody $20,000 to tear it down and haul it off if we end up just with the land.
But
To
you
me,
still
that's
get
the
all your money
positive way
back,
to look at it.
but you'd make all your money back off the land by itself, because you
Not-
already told us it was zero for the power. So you, right, so if you.
You gonna make
sell-
minus 20 on the land, cause you got to pay the man $20,000 to haul the building off.
You're gonna take the
Tear
20
it down.
and sell the house, the land for 200, and you still in the green, or in the left.
How?
But because, you're not gonna front for you have foreclosed on, that's not the point. I guess my point would be that it may be some value, 17 may be a little high. But because when you start a precedence now to say, everyone to come in and say, it's no value to me, and we put it to zero, then I think everyone else should come in, and I'm gonna say the same thing. He come in and say that old mobile home or that car, I'm saying, just make them zero. Say it's not worth to you, and we'll zero it.
If it's not livable, then
Okay.
it's
You
zero.
don't have to live in a car.
I think that's a great point.
No, I'm telling, I'm
So
talking
now
about
the
cars
question
and
I was
everything
saying, there's
else.
so many
I'm
properties
not saying
now that's
17,
sitting
but
around,
drop it down.
that power ain't
So
been
low.
on in 10 years. It's been sitting there just because no power's sitting on it, but people still paying taxes on them houses. And then it's sitting there, and nobody done 10 years.
And that's what I'm saying, they shouldn't be paying taxes if it's sitting there and is not usable and ain't no power, there will not be no taxes on it.
Okay, well, if you're gonna do it that way, then
I
do
don't
it.
have a
That's not
problem
the
doing
point,
it.
that's not the law.
Yeah,
That's
but
not the
now-
law.
do it that
That's
way.
not the
We
tax
can't,
law.
yeah, now the law states as long as it's standing and it's sit there, it's taxable.
That's what I'm saying.
And so, and we have people come in, especially with mobile homes that do not have power, and they'll say it's not livable. They have to present us something that the power has been taken off. We don't take their word for it. And if it's not livable and the appraiser goes out and says that, it's still about $1,000 in value. It may go down, but we don't ever take it to zero.
And that's what I'm thinking, that 17 is probably the value of, you know, around the wood, if there's anything, you know.
And then you may have to look at it like a town is.
There's a bunch of property.
The way our county is with all the old stuff, we adopt the way the town does it, then they go tear it down and send you a bill. I don't think they're gonna want
But
that.
I can get, Mr. Gary, he's gonna be coming back in a couple more weeks and starting, and so, I mean, he can go out and check, you know, and if I need to go back with them and just check it out.
I was just gonna suggest before a value of 0 is placed on it, we probably need
Just check
to,
it out.
have pictures taken so that
That's what
you
I
all
was
can see
saying.
the same,
Yeah.
same piece of property, and also just kinda check with the school of government as far as what the best
The
practice
first thing
is.
this picture's on.
I think
let's
that's
go
what I
back and
said.
look at it.
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's
fine.
what I
Okay,
said.
yes.
But every time Mr. Gary comes, we have to pay him. Mr. Gary needs to start getting it right the first time. That's what you need to tell Mr. Gary.
That's right.
I mean, every time he goes back, it ought to be free.
That's right, I agree with that.
But we shouldn't be having to live with this if it's the building's just standing there and it's no value and ain't been no power since the man bought it.
But it's amazing.
And he's gonna give it away and tear everything down. It'll go down when he tears it down and gives it away.
Make sure you bring pictures.
Yeah, and see, the reason I'm saying, that's the problem that come when you buy property sometime in foreclosure, that they have to go in and do demolition on the property. And it's valued at $30,000 or $40,000, cause something is sitting on it. Then you got to go there and turn the thing down and do demolition on it, cause you can't get it, and it costs you another $7,000-8,000 just to remove it.
That's what I was saying about that house over there. If it's not livable, then if it became our property, yes, we know the land's worth $387. But if we inherit that house and it's got to be torn down, we don't have now $387. We got to minus what we got to pay somebody to go haul that house off.
Right. And I'm not, Mr. Britt, I'm not going against that. My point is, but it's valued something. That may be too high. So adjust that. And so when you set, it may be. And then the next person come in, let's do the same thing. Let's be fair with everyone.
I don't know that we've had this situation before.
I don't
I
know.
can't remember anybody coming here that bought a piece of property and never have stayed a
Wasn't
night
that-
there.
Cars and vehicles, they have other stuff.
Cars and vehicles are different.
I just remember us having a conversation and told her to go to the state and ask them about those type of properties that we could not collect taxes on, that people had sitting that was abandoned, and was off the book, but it was still property there, and how you assess that property.
I'm not talking about giving the money back, I'm talking about going forward.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay, we're gonna look at that. Okay, we'll come back. Now let's go to the James V. Simpson. All right.
I think we just adjust what Renee's done. I don't think it's fair to go back.
Well, I have a question on that. She came in 2015, and she knew there was a problem, but you have no records, is what you're telling me?
I can go back and look, but 2015, and see, this was all done during, she sent the letter, but Miss Jane works for, this Jane Priest works for the lawyer, and she came in and that's how all this got started. And that's when we started looking at, there's something wrong. Now, she didn't say anything to me about the 15,
Okay.
but if they came in at 15, and it's the initial informal, they would have talked to the revow team. The revow team would have supposedly taken care of that and went through the process and brought it before the board if they were still dissatisfied.
Okay.
Now, on her at 2015, if there was appeal, every property record card I see, if there was an appeal, it's on that property record card and it's not on her property record card.
Okay.
Okay?
So they failed to proceed with it.
I'm not saying, on every property record card, if somebody talks about an appeal, I can usually see it'll have 2015 appeal, informal appeal. Then that tells me they came in and they talked to revaluation. On her property record cards, on all 4 or 5 parcels, I don't see that there's a comment of that.
So the $84,000 increase was justifiable to assess her property in 2015, is that what you were saying?
Because that mobile home park went, and all the rates went up.
I thought
It
you
was
said
still the
mobile-
same, it's just that at the,
I thought we said the mobile park didn't exist.
No one appealed it, as
Yeah,
far as
no
we
one
knew it,
appealed
it existed.
yeah.
So really,
But we don't have anything to show though
Yeah, it is.
where that we deemed it a mobile home park.
I couldn't find anything, I
And the only
talked
reason
with,
I ask that, from everything I read now, because I read the lot since the situation when the lady come up that night, that I made the recommendation on. The people are entitled if it's deemed that we made the mistake. We can only go back by choice so many years
that's right.
without the commissioners having to reimburse the county out of our pocket if we choose to do different.
It's 5 years plus current.
But I'm just looking at it from a liability standpoint. If has to be settled in the courtroom.
Mr. Chairman, one point that, I mean, just as far as confusion, just to add to the confusion, her letter indicates that there was a mobile home park on that property during the 80s. So from there on, I mean, from her own letter, it states that.
So it was a mobile home initially.
I don't know if that's correct or not,
But
but
we
that
don't
was
have any
apparently,
records.
apparently that was her understanding. Well, there were no records on,
When I talked to Ms.
I mean, there was no
James,
zoning or whatever
yeah,
back then to,
we didn't have
no mobile home
any
parks.
paperwork or anything that they went through with it.
I think so, because you don't see no signs on the property that there was ever
And
hooked
even
up
the
to
town of
anything.
White Lake have been out there.
There was no zoning back then.
no.
How has the town of White Lake been assessing their tax value based off the county?
Well,
Yeah,
it's in
and
the
they
ta-
know that there's not a mobile home park there.
And
That-
And
that-
there
that
never
also
was.
says-
see, that's-
So
That's
that's
what I
what
talked to them, yeah.
So we can only do now, according to the law, is go forward,
Yeah.
because it wasn't our mistake, it was her, she had to.
Anytime that they're, I mean, even with the era,
It's up to the taxpayer
it's up to
to
the
appeal
taxpayer
their taxes.
to, you know, and they can request a refund. But that request can only be 5 years plus current. And after that, they have to go to court with it. But even after that,
They can request
we've
more,
already,
they
went
request
through
more.
with another one that, you know,
But
the,
Mr.
Yeah.
Davis,
the only reason I was saying about the reevaluation process, that's when we supposed to be going back to reassess property. And that lady came in, when she seen her property go off the chart 3 times the rate, she came and said something about it. And we assessed it wrong. From what I'm getting, we went out there and assessed that property wrong. I know she supposed maybe came in, but we went out there doing reevaluation, is when we supposed to go out there and reassess people's property. We reassessed it wrong. And the lady came in and said, wait a minute, what's happened to my property? It went up 3 times the price. She came in with legit, but I don't know, maybe, maybe she didn't come in and say, that's the status you can use, but she did notice that it went up.
He physically has to go look too. So he saw that, what, he can't just do it based on the card from what I was told.
There is no data that she come in 2015. Renee don't have nothing saying that. I'm not saying she's misleading us, but Renee has nothing to say that she come in 2015. There's no data either way.
but now, Renee, she can request more than 5 years, we only legally can pay 5 years in current, right? Refund, brother.
We don't do that.
we can't go over 5 years plus current, she would have to go to court.
Yeah.
Well, too,
And
there's
that's
another way you
the-
can look at it too, even so be it being said, and land values did go up, obviously, in White Lake. But I don't think they went up 5 times value.
That's what I'm talking about. It went up, it went up.
You really need to think about what we're sitting here talking about.
I'm trying to think through it. I mean, it's up to the
I mean,
taxpayer
where-
to appeal it.
where-
It's not the tax office, and it's not you, and it's not me.
It's the
up to
appraiser,
the.
in this case, where did he see the justification?
The
for it?
appraiser does not go out and appraise every property in Blaine County.
My
He cannot do
understanding
it.
is
He don't do it, does he, Renee?
What was the tax
That's
Well, this
assessment?
was part of
That's in
this.
his, that's in his conditions.
Yeah, that's what part of the reevaluation.
What was the reevaluation process? That would determine what the value of property was, and why we had it. They put it on
And
that.
that's what,
No, they don't.
when they did the revaluation, that's what the amount was,
Yeah.
that 123.4.
Yeah. Yeah, right. You can check on-
And then
what
they
area
send out the
you estimate it is.
notifications, letting you know that you have time to appeal, you go through an informal appeal, and that, they get a letter saying this is the change or no change. If they're dissatisfied, then that's when they come to the board.
maybe we need to look at the appraisals when they go out the next time, we need to do another reevaluation and do something a little different than what we done, but they, to me, they just totally made a mess.
Every year we use the same person?
Reevaluation is every 8 years, and that's the
Just put out the
bid.
bid.
They're still using the same individual, though, to bid, through the bidding
The
process.
past 2 times it's been.
They ain't made a change.
Might need change.
You changed it.
I make a motion, we, do what Renee did and move forward.
Do what she did.
She adjusted the property for next year.
And no reimbursement back on
That's
income.
right, that's right.
So,
But legally, we can go back, Mr. Chairman, legally, we can go back 5 years and reimburse it, can't we? If she asked for it, right?
Yes, it's
Should I-
But I
There's no data that she appealed it.
But it looked like we made an error though.
but if
We don't know that.
Well, it appears.
But if she requests a refund now, though, we still can go back 5 years and say,
I don't put it up there. It's taxpayer's responsibility to check their tax card.
But you know, I tell you, I didn't like the way you evaluated mine here. And when I called when that guy called me, and he said, well, I'll go back and look at it, whatever. I don't agree on how he does things, but he's the expert, not me. So, he said, and I think you told me the same thing, well, if I wanted to appeal it, I had to come to the board. And you think, well, this guy can come in and say, well, because of the brick house and where it is, but yet and still, I'm in East Arcadia. The value of most houses is not like they're white one, but you want me to pay taxes on a whole lot of it. But my value with my surrounding houses is a little bit different. And that's what he said, well, that didn't change anything. Well, now you tell me it does matter.
It should matter.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, but
When
see-
you look at it,
Because they supposedly praised the communities.
Well, it
Yeah,
didn't
I
do none of
understand
that
what
way.
they're supposed to do.
because.
So I guess I'll be coming to see you guys. I will be.
Cause they don't go house to house.
It's by neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, sure.
but he said, well, there are others in your area, it's one over on Highway 87, there's one down the street and so, okay.
Well, I honestly just don't see a just reason why he went from that price to.
It's too much.
I mean, I'm talking about, I
I
can't see
just
it.
don't see,
That's too much.
regardless of everything we discussed, I don't see a just reason to 5 times.
That's it.
I'd like to see anybody's that went up 5 times.
A little bit over the top.
So for that reason,
Well, we've had the same thing.